Hello and welcome back to the Solland Uprising Mighty Empires campaign. I am Garion Reaver. I have now fought through all 3 battles of the first round, and we are back to the campaign map to see how that has affected the overall Mighty Empires campaign. I'll go through the empire points they've gained from the fights, how they spend them, and then we'll go into the second turn of the campaign and work out the next round of battles. This round they fought with 1,500 points, and the first battle was Sylvania versus the Empire, which Sylvania won with a massacre. This earned Sylvania 5 empire points for the massacre, and the Empire 1 empire point for the loss. Next was Clan Deathtoll versus the Skull Smashers, represented by a goblin tribe. And Clan Deathtoll won by a massacre. Not quite as completely one-sided as the first match, but still definitely a massacre. Clan Deathtoll gets 5 victory points for the massacre, but the Skull Smashers had the all-or-nothing event, which means if they lost or drew, they get no empire points at all. So Skull Smashers get nothing. And then the third fight was Solland versus Wissenland. And Wissenland won a solid victory, and that gives them 4 victory points, and Solland gets 1. In light of how one-sided a lot of the points in these battles are, I've decided on a change which I'll come back to at the end of the video. And now we go into the build and conquer phase where they spend their empire points, because empire points do not carry over into subsequent turns. Gold does, but empire points do not. Going round in turn order, starting with Sylvania, he is going to use land grab, the event he chose, which means the first tile costs a single empire point. He's going to claim this river, and then he's also going to claim this tile here. He's expanding his influence out, but that one costs 2 empire points. Next, he's going to build on this river. And honestly, I'm unsure whether this counts as a river as a mountain. I think because it's got mountains there, I'm going to count it as a mountain. So he has a mine there now, which will help in the revenue phase of future turns. And then finally, he's going to raid, which generates gold. Raiding immediately generates 2d6 in gold, so 8 gold. Next is Clan Deathtoll, and they are going to claim 2 tiles as well. They're just going to claim the entirety of the Blackfire Pass, but they're not going to build. Instead, they are going to just raid straight away. And they get, a 10. So that is 10 gold. Solland do not have the empire points to claim anywhere, so they are just going to have to raid straight away, which is something you can always do, and they get 7. Next is the Skull Smashers, who can't do anything. The Empire have a single point, so they're going to raid, but I'm flavouring it more as they're taxing their other provinces in order to get the money, rather than raiding somewhere, which doesn't really fit the Empire narratively, so they get 7 gold. And finally, Wissenland has 4, so they are going to claim a tile, and then they're going to build and then raid. So they're going to build a mine on this river, and then they're going to raid against Solland. Not that you really need to designate who you're raiding against, but, narratively it makes sense. And they raid a total of 7 as well. And that is the end of the first campaign turn. Going into turn 2 of the campaign, first of all we have to work out turn order, which is decided by empire size. Oh damn, sorry, my mistake, that's Fieldorf. There's Nuln, the capital. So actually, I'm going to move that to there instead. As Castle Drakenhof is a castle, Sylvania has an empire size of 3. Same with Carrickvarn, so that's an empire size of 3 again. Castle Braun is just a castle, so Solland only has 1. Wissenland has 2 tiles, but one of them has a city, which gives them a total of 3. Skull Smashers are still at 2 because their capital is also a city. And the same with the Empire, so they're still at 2. As turn order is primarily decided by empire size, Solland goes first, but then we have a tie between the Skull Smashers and the Empire, and between the other 3. So time to do some roll-offs. Skull Smashers of the Empire, 1, 2, 3, Skull Smashers, 4, 5, 6, Empire, for going first. 1, it is the Skull Smashers, followed by the Empire. And then we have a three-way tie between Wissenland, Sylvania and Death Toll. So 1-2 Wissenland, 3-4 Sylvania, 5-6 Death Toll. Clan Death Toll go next, and then I'll roll off again. Wissenland goes 5th, with Sylvania going last. The other reason empire size matters is the largest empire gets an additional 100 points for their armies in this turn, but as there isn't a single largest one, I'm not giving it to anyone. So now that the order is decided, it's time to pick the events. Solland, picking first, chooses land grab, because they feel they really need some land. The Skull Smashers are going to take scouts, which means in their battle this round, or battles, their opponent must deploy first, and then the Skull Smashers get the first turn. The Empire is going to go with Fool's Gold, and they're going to use it on Sylvania so that Sylvania cannot collect any revenue this turn from their mine. Oh, I've just realised I'm going to have to count this as a river rather than a mountain. Same with these, because I was wondering if they counted as mountains, because conquering or claiming a mountain costs an extra point, and I didn't charge them extra for any of these, so therefore they have to not count as mountains, otherwise I messed up. Clan Death Toll are going to go with all or nothing. They don't really have many great options here. They don't want an elite army, they can't build, and yeah, so they're going to go with all or nothing. So if they don't draw or lose, they get 2 extra empire points. Wissenland is going to take elite army, letting them field as many rare and special units as they want, just in case they get attacked by Solland again. And Sylvania is going to go with a building boom, and they're going to upgrade Castle Drakenhof to a city, which has very little effect except it will increase their empire size in future turns. With the events chosen, next is the revenue phase. This is where any mines that are in play and can earn get to generate revenue. As Sylvania is blocked due to the Empire's Fool's Gold, only Wissenland will actually be rolling for their mine. Mines on rivers generate 2d6, mines on mountains generate 3d6. So the mine on the river for Wissenland generates them 6 more gold, bringing them up to a total of 13. And the purpose of gold is you spend it to increase the points value of the armies you can field. It's done on a battle-by-battle basis, and each gold you spend is worth 10 points added. But before we go into the challenge phase, there are a couple of extra bits I wanted to go over. First of all, the characters. So you'll have noticed in the battles that each character was named, each character had sort of a bit of a backstory, and I also mentioned in the last battle that I was tracking what happened to them. In the first battle we had Volkmar Newhouse, who came out of it completely unscathed, he's fine. However, Laureus the Feeble had his wizard level reduced by 2. Because of this, he is out of future battles for 2 campaign turns while he recovers his wizard levels. On the opposing side, Albert Kober, Mannheimer and Roland Voigt were all horribly killed. Kober and Voigt by Crypt Haunters, which are the champions of Crypt Horrors, and Mannheimer just got pulled apart by zombies, so that was great for him. Battle 2 had Bilefroth Cruiser and Muta Slack from Clan Death Toll, and while Bilefroth and Muta Slack were both completely unharmed, they're both still playing around, Cruiser was injured, so he's out for 1 campaign turn as he recovers the wound he lost. On the opposing side were Nafnat Orklaw, Lil Nafnat, and the 2 shamans, Skarzog and Glazog. Nafnat Orklaw was killed when his chariot rode into a pool of magma, which is pretty nasty. Skarzog was killed by Plague Monks, Glazog was killed by Bilefroth, whereas Lil Nafnat got out completely unscathed and has now taken over the tribe, which has sort of been forced out of Blackfire Pass, but that's their problem. And then in the third battle, Caster von Braun and Johann Bruckier from Solland Revivalists both didn't fare very well. Johann was killed by Pistoliers, he's dead, whereas Caster was injured in a battle with Otto Helshan from Wissenland. I said in that there was a possibility he survived, and I decided that both because he is sort of almost like the main character of the campaign, it would be a little silly to have him just get killed off when there is justification for him surviving. So he survived, but so did Otto Helshan. So Caster is out for 3 campaign turns while he recovers his 3 wounds, whereas on Wizenland's side, Otto Helshan is out for 2 turns while he recovers both of his wounds. Helmut the Lucky is completely unaffected, but Kaslad Hofwitz was killed by Pistoliers. He is dead. And Kulper, Priest Kulper, was wounded by the Knights and is recovering for 1 campaign turn. This is to add a bit more of the narrative aspect to this narrative campaign, so characters can reappear and it not seem rubbish that, hey, when they severely injured in the last one, yeah, they're going to be out of battle for a while. But from a narrative perspective, Solland didn't do very well, but the thing is, Caster is quite charismatic. He was able to spin it. So the survivors were like the Pistolier Outriders and some of the militia, but he's able to spin it as, yeah, this was the outside forces. You know, it was the mercenaries I hired weren't good enough, whereas clearly I should have relied on Solland's own troops. So he's going to switch to using more conventional Empire units, and he's going to sort of build up a bit more support. Maybe not much support among the nobles, because all of the Pistoliers, the young nobles, pretty much all got killed. But among the civilianry, he's probably doing a lot better. He did manage to fight Wizenland a lot more than one might expect. The other thing was I wanted to address the fact that most of these battles were massacres. And it's due to, and I think I mentioned this in one of the battles, it's due to the fact that in 8th edition, Dead or Fled is just, if there are any surviving in the unit, you get no victory points. You could have a 500-point unit, and if one ordinary guy survives from it, no victory points, which seems really weird. So, particularly as this, I believe, was made for 7th edition Mighty Empires with the different victory point, like marginal, solid, and massacre victories, I'm going to take a leaf out of their book and tweak Dead or Fled. So now, if the unit is reduced to 50 points, 50% of its starting wounds or number of models, depending on if it's like a multiple model unit, then you get 50% of its value in victory points. And hopefully this will make it a bit less of a absolute blowout on one side or the other, because clearly Mighty Empires is designed for slightly closer battles. Anyway, with that sorted, let's do the challenges. So they challenge in order, starting with Solland. They are going to, surprise, surprise, challenge Wizenland again, which means Wizenland do not make a challenge. The Skull Smashers this time are going to challenge the Empire. They didn't get to challenge last time, I don't think. The Empire, now that they have been challenged, do not get to make a challenge of their own. Clan Death Toll, they have a choice, because you see I'm trying to do it on like what they're near, so they could challenge, theoretically, Solland, the Empire, which sort of controls Aveland, or they could probably challenge Sylvania. But I'm going to have them challenge the Empire, because they're going to move into Aveland now. Wizenland doesn't get a challenge, but Sylvania, I kind of think they're also going to challenge the Empire. Like, it makes sense that the Empire is getting assaulted from all sides. They do technically control, effectively all of this land. And Sylvania from there, Skull Smashers, and the Skaven are all moving in to try and take land from the Empire. And in Mighty Empires, you can either fight multiple battles, so the Empire could fight like the Skull Smashers, Sylvania, and Clan Death Toll in 3 separate battles in a single campaign turn, or you can form a team. So what I think I'm going to do is a bit of both. I'm going to have the Skull Smashers fight the Empire on their own, and then Sylvania and the Clan Death Toll team up. And this is because Clan Death Toll sort of launching an attack into Aveland while Mannfred is moving his forces down here, and he sends an envoy to Clan Death Toll being like, would you like to work together? We can both attack Aveland. And Clan Death Toll, who've gone for all or nothing, remember, they really need a win, would be like, yes, dead things, yes, that sounds great. So they would very, very happily work together in this case. Plus you get the sort of the juxtaposition of like Wizenland and Solland fighting their own little battle, while the Empire is waging war that they are just ignoring for the sake of their petty little disputes. So the Empire will fight one battle against the Skull Smashers, and one against Sylvania and Clan Death Toll. Round 2 will be 2,000 point matches, up from the 1,500 in round 1, and this is where gold comes in. You see, players can spend the gold in order to increase the size of their army. First of all, the largest empire gets an additional 100 points onto their army list, but there is no single largest empire, so nobody gets it. And you can spend up to 25 gold to increase your points limit by 10 per gold. Deciding whether to use the gold in turn order, Solland first. They know that Wizardland has quite a war chest, so they are going to put all 7 gold into this to give themselves an extra 70 points. Which isn't a lot, but Wizardland can easily match it. And the Empire has a bit of a tricky situation here, because when you are the largest empire, you get the 100 points to all of your battles just for free for being the largest. But when you spend gold, you only get it on the one battle you choose. So if, say, the Empire put 7 gold into the Skull Smashers battle, they would then have no gold to spend on Sylvania and Death Toll. So they're actually going to hold on to all of their gold for when they really, really need it. Death Toll, considering they went for an all or nothing, are going to put all 10 gold in for an extra 100 points. Wizardland is going to put in another round 100 as well into their battle and then hold on to 3 because they are quite well off and they can afford to do both. Whereas Sylvania is not going to put any in. So here are our battles. Solland versus Wizardland to open with, and then the Empire versus Skull Smashers, and then the Empire versus Sylvania and Death Toll. The Empire army list is representing in every single battle, but then again this campaign is set in the south part of the Empire and heavily focuses on Empire provinces, so it's sort of expected. So check those out when they release. They're going to be coming out over the next few weeks. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're enjoying this campaign. I certainly am, as a different way to play Warhammer that's just really quite invigorating, giving them some narrative weight and stuff. That's fun for me. So I hope you're enjoying it as well. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe for more board games, card games, miniatures like this, and TTRPGs, and I will catch you later.